One of the great things about owning a Tesla vehicle is the fact that it has a lot of features and gets more features over time. However, one thing that can be a little difficult is keeping track of these features or knowing about all of them. Today I'm going to break down my top tips and tricks for Tesla's latest vehicles, including the latest refreshed Model 3 and Y. Some of them are essential to know, some of them are just little bonuses, and some of them are fun. So let's get into it. One very cool thing about Tesla's cars is the fact that a lot of things are controlled on screen. However, sometimes this can lead to things being buried in menus. Also, there are plenty of features around Tesla's cars that people just don't really know about. So let's start with some on the exterior. Both the Tesla Model 3 and Y include a powered trunk, which means you press the button here and it's automatically going to open for you, open all the way, and then close at the press of a button. But there are actually 4 different ways you can open it. That is the first one, by pressing on the button here. You can also do it on the screen by tapping open and then tapping close. You can do it from the Tesla app. Just tap that open button here. And again, tap close once it's time. Good to go there. But another new feature Tesla has is when your phone is in your pocket and close by to the trunk, it will use ultra wideband to sense that you're near and in a steady position waiting for it to be opened. So this is an option that you have to enable on screen under lock settings, but once I have my phone in my pocket, I have that turned on, I walk up to the trunk, and after a few seconds of standing in the same position, it's going to beep, I think 4 times, and the trunk opens automatically for me, and then of course, manually close it with the button. Now, one thing that people might experience is the fact that this trunk could hit, especially in something like the Model Y, a low garage when you open it. So sometimes you don't actually want it to open all the way. And the way that you can do this is you bring this down to the level that you're actually comfortable with it going. So say you're in your garage and you know that this is low enough. You press and hold this button. It gives you 2 beeps in rapid succession like that. And then from now on, in this location specifically, it's only going to open to this trunk height. It's new that it's saved specific to location. And that is something they've recently added for the Model 3 and Y. So now when I open it, it's only going to open to that lower set point. And then if you ever just want to reset this, raise it back up to where you want it to be, all the way up, press and hold 2 times, 2 beeps, you're good to go. Now, when it comes to the front trunk of these cars, it's entirely manual, but it of course releases from a control. So there are 2 ways to do this. There's no hands-free unlock or anything. It's simply going to be from the app or on screen. You tap the open button and it basically just releases it and then you open it from there. Now, as far as closing, it's important to think of this differently than hoods you may be used to. Basically, you want to bring it down slowly until it's touching, and then you put one hand on each side of the Tesla logo and then push down until you get 2 clicks. One thing that's different about Tesla vehicles compared to others is their door releases. Now, more and more companies are adopting a similar thing here where it's an electronic release. But basically, when you open the door of this car, you press this button and it releases the door. However, if the car were to, in an emergency situation, entirely lose power, that's where this release right here on these front doors comes into play. It's the manual release. And Tesla only really wants you to use that in cases of emergency, although you will probably find that when people are riding in this and unfamiliar with Teslas, that's the first release they're going to go for. With that said, it's definitely important to know to use this the majority of the time, but that this is here when you need it. In the rear seats of the Model 3 and Y though, you'll notice there's no extra release right here. It's just these electronic releases. And then Tesla has kind of hidden the emergency backup releases down in this pocket. There is a little tab that you can pull up here. And then in that is the tab that you pull to manually release this door. Then this little piece gets replaced right here, kind of covers it up. I don't really know why Tesla did it this way. It seems like it'd be so much easier if they just had those backup releases there. Maybe it's kind of a child safety lock type of mechanism that they're doing here. But those manual releases are a lot harder to access, and it's important to know where they are. So again, all the way down here in this pocket, you pull up this piece, and this yellow tab is your manual door release in case of emergency. Again, I'm not really sure why Tesla did it this way, especially since if you have some sort of insert in there, an accessory a lot of people have, or you have cups and other things in there, it's covering this up and it's that much harder to get to in case of an emergency. But the point is, now you know where it is so you can tell people if they need to get out. One of the first things I would do in your Tesla is switch the mileage on screen to percentage if you haven't already. And you can do this simply by tapping on it. A lot of people will keep track of the range that their car has left in the mileage prediction here, but this is actually probably the most inaccurate way to track what range you have left, because this is Tesla's prediction based on the EPA estimated range, and in the real world, a lot of things can change. So it's just overall best to not be worrying about this. In the real world, things will change based on various factors, and sometimes it's just not as accurate. But when you get used to percentage, you'll have a much better idea of, oh, I need to charge soon, without thinking, wait, that means I got 5 less miles than I should have got, and always being worried about every last mile that this car has. Every electric car, and every car for that matter, gets different fuel efficiency depending on different situations. So sometimes this may show a certain mileage prediction and you'll actually get way more than that. Sometimes you'll get less. It's just going to be better to keep it in percentage and get used to that. With that said, if you do really want to understand your efficiency and everything, you can go to the Energy app on screen, and this will show you your consumed energy and what all has been consuming the most energy. You can go here to rated and switch it to since last charge, and you can see how much energy I consumed here and what the majority of it contributed to. This is actually a really cool way to look at your range and understand how your car is using this up. You can also see what has been consumed in park, and then overall your consumption in watt hours per mile. 10 miles, 100 miles, 200 miles. So overall, I'd recommend looking either very detailed or not detailed at all by just keeping this in percentage. The next quick tip is for the climate menu, which we'll get into more details in a second. But right here where you see the temperature, that's what's going to bring up your climate menu, of course. But if you simply just press and hold here, it will turn the entire system off. Alternatively, you can tap into here and press this power button, but simply pressing and holding on this will achieve the same function. Now in that climate menu, you of course have your options to change around how your vents are pointed and more, and you can change your fan speed here even when it's on an auto setting. I prefer to keep it on auto and just change my temperature up and down depending on how I'm feeling, but some people like to turn this off and switch to manual, and then you can see this gives you a few different options, including your fan speed all the way up to 10. Again, I usually just keep this in auto, and then you also have your rear options here where you can control rear vents, where they're aimed exactly, the fan speed, and more. On the Model 3, I have the option to recycle air here, but in the Model Y, you'll also have a bioweapon defense mode option, and that's your full HEPA filtration system that is very cool to have, especially when it's very stinky outside or very bad air quality. This will do an incredible job at keeping your cabin air clean. But that's not an included feature for the Model 3, this just has standard filters. Now one thing people in Teslas oftentimes don't know how to do is shift into neutral. And that's because they actually don't make it very easy for you. So I'll go into all of the options for shifting in just a second here, but first is car wash mode. When you go to a car wash, you'll need to switch into neutral, but Tesla actually takes it one step further and has a car wash mode. This is in your normal controls right here under car wash. Press it, and enter car wash mode. This locks everything for you, keeps the charge port closed and more, and then you can go into screen clean mode, and then once you press the brake, if you're in drive, you can enable free roll, which is that neutral right here. Once you're done at the car wash, you can exit car wash mode, but keep in mind you should have already shifted to pull out of that car wash. I'm still in neutral, so I'll shift into drive and then exit car wash mode. But if you want to just enter neutral by itself, you'll notice that is also on screen right under car wash mode. It says hold, press and hold, and it's going to make me press the brake pedal in order to shift into this, and now I'm in neutral. But now let's talk about shifting. This will specifically apply to Tesla's latest vehicles, even the latest Model Y, because they added a blinker stock, or kept a blinker stock on that car, but they still got rid of the stock on the right side, so you have to shift on screen. However, there are actually 3 different ways that you can shift into all of your different drive modes. So the first one will either already be here or pop up when you press the brake, and of course you swipe down to go into reverse, or swipe up to go into drive. That's the way that I think most people are going to get used to doing, and as much as it seems like a little bit annoying on screen, it's kind of exactly where that stock would have been located, and instead you're just putting your finger there on screen. I understand if people still prefer stock for this kind of function, but Tesla does make it pretty easy. Then you tap to go into park, or if you're in drive and your foot is off the pedal and it's in hold mode, you can also press and hold, and then it will go into park for you. Alternatively, if you're in drive and then you open the door, it's going to automatically shift you into park as well. But then under settings in dynamics, there's the auto shift beta, and this has 2 different stages. First is auto shift out of park, which is basically it will predict which direction you need to go when you're in park. So I'm going to turn this on here, And then right now I'm parked where I definitely can't go forward. So I'm going to tap the brake and it auto shifted me into reverse. Clearly shows me it's in reverse. It threw up the rear cameras and everything, and then I'm good to go. All I had to do was press the brake to start driving, and it knew which direction to go. But now Tesla has taken this one step further on their latest cars, where you can actually shift without using the screen whatsoever between drive modes. So I'll go ahead and turn this on, and again, it kind of explains how this works. Before you press the accelerator pedal, always check that the proposed drive mode matches your expectations and that it is safe to move in that direction. And it's only between drive and reverse drive modes in certain circumstances. So I'm going to turn this on and then show you what I mean. So right now I'm in park and I can go into reverse, but I'm pretty obviously going to have to reverse out of this spot and then turn over here. And to activate drive, it shows me I need to turn the wheel to the right and press the brake. I do both of those things, checks that off, shifted me into drive, and I'm good to go. It's pretty impressive how that works very quickly. Now, sometimes the feedback is a little unclear. You do that and you think you've completed both of those tasks and then it doesn't actually shift for you. It's not 100% perfect yet, but if you make sure to pay attention to what it's showing on screen, it actually can be very easy. So now I'm just gonna drive over here, see if I can get it to understand that I definitely want to shift into reverse. So I'm gonna try to back into a parking space here. I'll pull up here, let's see if it gets it. So right here, it's not automatically understanding, so I'm gonna swipe, and that's one of those circumstances where I needed to swipe, but then it's telling me to activate drive. Those are the things I need to do, but I'm just gonna park into this spot right here. Then again, I backed into this spot, so to get out, I'm gonna need to go forward. Let's see what auto shift chooses. I'm just gonna tap the brake, and it went into drive. It's the right gear, or the right drive mode. Now this is a situation where it may understand what I need to do because I'm pulling up all the way here. To activate reverse, turn wheel, and now I'm in reverse. Overall, I think auto shift is a pretty sweet feature. It works pretty seamlessly the majority of the time, and in a lot of situations like this, it's really easy and really quick, faster than swiping and faster than even using a stock. But of course, it doesn't work in every single circumstance. Another quick tip here is for your blind spot cameras. When you initiate a blinker, which on this car is buttons and on the Model Y is a stock, you see, of course, you get your blind spot view here, but there are 3 different positions this can be. Right here, or down here. And when you're in drive, you can really see that this is covering up a certain amount of this screen. If you put it up here, it's shifting things down, or up here. I usually kind of prefer to have it up there, but you can play with it, move these around anytime, and it will save whatever your last position was. Now, one thing Tesla has that I don't talk about too much is voice commands, and that's because these can sometimes be dicey. Sometimes they don't work super well, you need a great connection, and you don't have it, and it just doesn't work. But overall, voice commands can pretty much control anything you do on screen, and I would say to just play around with it. You can look up lists of all the commands that you can do here, but they're predetermined commands that Tesla has, but there's a lot of them. So let's say, for instance, I want to change the temperature. Change temperature to 72. It got it right there, no problem. Turn on ventilated seats. Seat heating updated. Turn on cooled seat. There we go, so it turned on the cooled seat. So you just have to play around with it sometimes to understand what way to get it to do what you need. But you can play music this way, you can adjust your windshield wipers this way. Even though the button for the rear camera is right next to the voice commands button, you can say, pull up rear camera. So this is kind of what I'm talking about. It pulled up the search for your camera as a song in its search title. Pull up rear camera. Still not. Okay. Open camera. Yeah, so you get the idea. Overall, you can start playing with voice commands when you get your car, and it can do most things that you control on screen, which is a lot of stuff. Fold mirrors. Open Glovebox. This one, it said open in Glovebox, but didn't do it. Open Glovebox. There we go. On the main controls screen are a lot of different options like opening the glove box, but one thing that can also be saved by location, just like your trunk height, is folding mirrors. You can click the button, save location, and now when I'm here in the future, it will fold my mirrors. A lot of people like this, for instance, if they're pulling into the same garage all the time that's very tight, and they always need to fold their mirrors, it will do it automatically in the future. A new option that Tesla has added is under charging. At the bottom, keep accessory power on. Now this was actually a feature a lot of people used to use that they kind of just disabled, but now they've given you the option to turn it on. So if you click on info, it says phone chargers, USB ports, and low voltage outlets remain powered after exit if the battery is above 20%. When enabled, it continues to consume energy even when no devices are connected. So that's why they've given you the option to turn this off, because it does consume some power. But essentially you can plug in your laptop, you can plug in a cooler, you can plug in any type of device into your car and go away from the car, and it will keep powering it with this option toggled on. For Autopilot, we'll get into all of these different options in a little bit, but one particular option you can toggle on or off is a green traffic light chime. So when you're at a traffic light waiting there, it will chime at you once it turns green. Some people like this because maybe they zone out for a second at a red light. Under locks is where you'll add alternative keys to your car, and you can adjust child lock options. Also, you can do that on the main controls panel here under child lock. Window lock is here too, as well as walk away door lock, and you can exclude home if you want it to just remain unlocked whenever you're at home. And this is where you turn on that hands-free trunk option that I talked about earlier. With the latest Tesla vehicles, under lights is where you'll also adjust things like adaptive headlights and accent lights. Adaptive lights are a very cool new thing that they've finally enabled, even on more recent cars that are not the latest ones, where it says selectively dims individual pixels of the high beams to reduce glare for other traffic and adjust headlights for curves. For the accent lights, you can keep them on all the time, on at night only, off. You can change the color based on any color on this wheel, predetermined colors. You can go through the wheel, click plus, and now you have that alternative option that you can see. And then you can adjust brightness as well. For the seat menu, this is where you can actually adjust this right passenger seat. And you can do this from both the front screen and the rear screen. So if I just want to push it forward a little bit, that's what's happening based on that control. Under display and settings, you can choose between dark mode, light mode, or auto, which will switch depending on the time of day. You can also reduce blue light, which will automatically adjust to warmer colors at night. I particularly like this option, although I wish it could be even more intense at times. And then you have various other options like 24-hour time, text size, temperature, languages, and then scroll wheel functions, which we'll get to in a second. Schedule is where you can set up charge scheduling based on your off-peak hours or preconditioning. Let's say you always leave at the same time every morning and you want your car preconditioned for that time. You can set that up here. And then under safety, you have a lot of things that make these cars very cool. There's of course Sentry mode, which will be enabled when you leave the car. And then you have the option to auto-enable Sentry mode in park, but you can exclude certain locations like home, so it's not just draining your battery if it's safe there. This is where you can turn on Sentry mode camera streaming to the app, and then you have your Dashcam options. For the Dashcam, this is recording all of the time when you're driving, but it's not saving clips until you actually need them. So you can have it where you only manually save clips, it will automatically save them, and you can turn it on so it will save them on honk. I like this because most likely if you honked your horn, there was some situation that may have been useful for the cameras to be recording for. So I keep this on auto and on honk, but another way to save the clip is you can simply click the Dashcam icon, which is the app when you're in drive. So if I'm in drive here, we'll tap that and you can see saving Dashcam clip. Scrolling down further, this is where you can enable all of your different blind spot cameras, collision warnings, blind spot warning lights, and more. And then you can turn on pin to drive, valet mode, a glove box pin, parental controls, speed limit mode, and more. One setting I like at the bottom of safety is Joe mode, which reduces the volume of your car's chimes. The service menu is where you can see all of your tires' PSI. The software menu is where you can see what version of software you are on and if there's a new version. And then under navigation, they've added a new option recently, which is the ability to avoid highways. Some people like this for navigating at certain times of day to just entirely avoid the highway, and that is now an option that you can turn on with Tesla vehicles, so it will route you that way, and if you're using full self-driving, it will drive that way. For the rear camera, you can bring this up in multiple ways. I always keep the icon right here in my dock, so it's easily accessible, but also on the latest Model 3 and Y, there's a button right here located on the wheel itself to open that camera very easily. Lastly, of course, shifting into reverse will bring up this camera on screen, but let's say for some reason you don't actually like having these three angles, you can simply swipe down and it will just be focused on that angle. Then if you want those side angles back, swipe up and they're all there. In the new Model Y as well, you're actually able to have a front view because that has a front bumper camera. The Model 3 doesn't have it yet, but to get to that, you would just simply swipe up and it would bring up that front camera. Depending on the time of year, you might want different icons in your dock, and of course this is fully customizable. Press and hold one of them and it works just like the app where you can drag different icons down here. Let's say I realize, you know what, since I have that rear camera button, I don't really need this right here. I can just delete it, clean this up, or I can replace it with some other app. Maybe I'll replace it with the Dashcam so it's always there and I can save a clip easily. And then you have these other options, and some of these don't actually affect this main panel. For instance, left seat right here is already down here, but I can delete it and it's off to the side of these apps. I can change that and that'll come up there. And then if someone's sitting in the right seat, it will actually be there as well. Also, heated steering wheel, I can add this, and this will be now one of my apps that's readily available so that I don't have to bring up the climate menu to turn on the heated steering wheel. If you're listening to music and you want to adjust the options, let's say the EQ, you just press this button right here. This card is pretty much always going to be here once you close out of your music app, and a lot of times it's actually just located there even when you're navigating through your music app. But right here, you press these three lines and it brings up your EQ. So if you want to turn up the sub, turn up the bass, or turn on immersive sound, you have those options, as well as balance. If you have people in the back and they don't want to listen to something, or people in the back are the only ones that want to listen to something, you can do that. And this is also where you can adjust sources. So Tesla has a lot of different sources available, but maybe you don't subscribe to one of them, so you don't even need it to show up. This is where you can adjust that. For instance, I have Amazon Music and YouTube Music unchecked because I don't use those services, so I don't need those icons popping up when I open my apps. However, if I do end up subscribing in the future, I can just turn it on right there and then log in. While we're located in a music app, this is Tidal, and one very cool thing about this is you can actually do offline downloads. So I can click download right here, and once I'm on Wi-Fi, this is going to download this album in hi-fi. And it's actually the best sound quality I've been able to achieve in a Tesla vehicle. Although you can attach a USB drive with music, so that might be the best possible way, but this does a really, really great job downloading in hi-fi on these really great sound systems. Now, one app you'll notice that I have in the Tesla Theater is Disney Plus. And because of some dispute, I guess, Tesla kind of removed Disney Plus as one of the base apps in their cars. But you can get this back extremely easily. You simply go over to the browser, and then you navigate yourself to disneyplus.com. And after you do that and click enter, it's going to open the Disney Plus app. And if you didn't have it populated before, it will now be populated. Now, when you get your Tesla delivered, it of course will be the color of your car, the car that you got delivered from Tesla. But if you do some sort of extra paint job or you get it wrapped in a different color, you can go to their Colorizer under Toy Box and click Customize. Maybe you also just want to play with this for fun because you think your car looks a little different, or it's just fun to look at a different car on screen. You can totally adjust this. And then you also have matte options and metallic options. Scroll all the way around. And most likely, whatever your wrap is, you can find a pretty good match here so that it really looks like your car when you look at it on screen. You can add these just like you can do with the light bar, and then of course your included standard factory paint is right here. Now, one thing Tesla added with these latest cars is a rear screen for rear passengers. But if you needed to control it, say you're up here and it's all the way back there and you can't really reach it or see it, you can actually do so on screen. It's under the apps, click rear, and that rear display is going to come up, tap to wake, and I have all the options and I'm fully controlling this rear display now. So if, for instance, someone is trying to get to some menu or trying to adjust something, you can do it for them right here. It can also be a good way to monitor what's happening if you have kids. On top of that, you have the option to lock that rear display if they're misbehaving. In the latest Model 3 and Y, this is your steering wheel, except there's one difference. The Model 3 has blinker buttons right now versus the Model Y has a blinker stock. But overall, you have this button for rear cameras, windshield wipers, voice commands, headlights, and then 2 scroll wheels. The right scroll wheel is entirely dedicated to Autopilot, and then the left scroll wheel is dedicated to media. So you scroll up and down for your volume controls, left and right for previous and next track, press in for pausing or playing, but it has another stage, which is that you press and hold, and it actually brings up another option here that can be customized. So right now I have it on acceleration mode, and once I'm in here, I can scroll between these different insane, standard, and chill modes on this particular vehicle. But I can scroll through different options here. So I press and hold and actually click left, and I get to the menu of all of these different options that I can also click through. So let's say I want to adjust brightness of the screen. It's at 21%, I can go down, go back up, go much higher, and all of that just from the scroll wheel. The other place that you can customize this is with the display menu on screen in settings. So click display, scroll wheel function, and you can see all of the different options. Temperature, fan speed, fold mirrors, display brightness, save dashcam, acceleration mode, steering wheel heat, defrost, dome lights, and glove box. You can also save it by pressing the scroll wheel here, pressing and holding, and it says saving footage. That's because I have that particular setting as my one setting for when I press and hold this scroll wheel, but you can also have it ask you every time. So you press this ask each time checkbox, and now every time I go and press and hold the scroll wheel, it has all of these different options to choose from. And it hasn't initiated anything yet because I haven't clicked in. Let's go to temperature, and then I can scroll down or up to adjust my temperature without having to engage with the screen. A lot of people will like this because it gives you a lot more options, and it's kind of like Tesla adding a little bit of a physical control back to their very software-related cars. But there's one more thing that you'll use the scroll wheels for, and that is resetting this car if anything goes wrong. So let's say something's freezing on screen, music isn't working. For some reason, you need to reset the infotainment system. You press and hold both scroll wheels, and then the car's gonna beep at you. Keep going until it goes black. Probably gonna beep again. And now it's restarting. And you can let go of the scroll wheels at this point. And this is entirely resetting the infotainment display, but it's not actually stopping the car from working. So above me, I have these backup shifters that will pop up in this case, or if you want to shift this way in another case, you can do so by just tapping them, they'll light up and then they work. But I can shift into drive here, and I can drive this car completely fine. I just don't have anything showing up on screen. Let's go back into reverse. And then soon enough here, the infotainment system is going to reset and we'll be back to normal. Here we are, it's back, and it does have to reinitialize certain things. Like we'll see that I don't have connectivity. Again, music's going to take a second because that has to connect to the internet, but I'm still able to engage autopilot or full self-driving, and I could have stayed on that system throughout a restart as well. One pretty annoying thing I've found as of late is with the latest Tesla vehicles, in order to connect to my Wi-Fi, it always is going to have an issue, and I always end up having to reset my car this way, and then it will reconnect. For some reason, it will tell me a software update's available and that I need to connect to Wi-Fi, the same connection that I've always had with the car connecting to my house, and then it won't connect, but if I restart the car, it will work. So I actually find myself doing this quite often. One last thing to note with all of these settings is there's a lot of them, and maybe you want to find one specific thing, but you don't want to have to scroll through all of these menus. There is a search settings option right here. So you can type in anything. Let's say I want those scroll wheel options. There we go. I typed in scroll, and not only does it give you that, and you can engage with it totally right here and totally adjust that setting without having to go to the menu, but it shows you where it's located for the future. Display, and now it's actually highlighting where that's located, so I know for the future. It can be a great way to find certain settings when you're new to this car or just when you've forgotten where they're located. There are a lot of them, so it's likely you're not going to always remember where they are, and this is a little bit quicker. Also, you could use your voice to dictate once you're in this box. I've clicked in there and I can go scroll wheel. And look at that, now I have that option. Now, if you've bought a Model 3 or Y recently, there's a good chance you either bought FSD or it came with FSD, maybe a 3-month free trial, or Tesla gave you a random 1-month free trial, and this is what your screen is going to look like. Now, if you didn't buy FSD, you'll just have these two options, but a lot of people are going to get their car delivered with this included because Tesla's really trying to push it lately. So this is what it's going to look like. You have 3 different options on screen. As such, I'll start with full self-driving and then work backwards. For full self-driving, you have 3 different modes: chill, standard, and hurry. You have your max speed offset, and then you have a few different options here, mainly related to autopilot, lane departure avoidance, that kind of thing. But one thing that you can turn on is start FSD supervised from park. This doesn't work all the time, but when it does work, it's pretty cool because basically you put in your destination and you start FSD from park. And you can have the option to tap the brake to confirm or not. I keep this off because it's actually kind of the coolest. You just press and hold on screen to navigate to your destination. It takes care of the rest, and you never even have to touch the steering wheel or the brake if all goes well. So I'm going to navigate to this destination, which is east of me, and then we'll see press and hold. I have this option. So I'm going to press and hold, FSD supervised. I haven't touched anything, and it's going to start driving. It realized it needed to go into reverse to get me out of this situation. And then it's going to turn me around, shift, and handle all of this for me. I think it's going to go all the way around this whole parking lot and then drive from here. So I'm in FSD right now fully. This is no different than how it would be on the freeway. It's just that it's driving in a parking lot and it's going to be doing a lot more. I think these are maybe the cases you really want to be paying attention the most, but you always need to be supervising this system. In any case, at this point, your right scroll wheel does change your top speed. So you can scroll up and down right here, and I can see it's changing between about 40 miles per hour as my top speed. It's going to come up here to an actual stop. I didn't really stop there, but there was no stop sign, so I guess that's why it didn't do that. But in any case, you can scroll, and when you're scrolling your speed, you can do it in 5 mile per hour increments by doing a quick flick on the scroll wheel. So I'll wait until this turns so that we're straightened out. And now I can flick up by 5 mile an hour increments. And as we can see, that goes 65, 70, 75. Also, you'll notice it says hurry, and that's because that's those 3 modes, which you can adjust with this scroll wheel as well, clicking left and right. So clicking left will take me to standard, left again to chill, and all the way back to hurry if I wish to do so. At this point, that's kind of the majority of what you do with the full self-driving system. It's so good that it's basically going to handle everything for you, and there isn't too much to adjust. The only other thing is really that you can hit the accelerator pedal if you want it to go faster in certain scenarios. Sometimes it's just not going fast enough, and so you just hit that accelerator and it will accelerate and actually keep a faster speed and understand that that's what you want from it. But at any time, if you need to disengage this system, you can do it in 3 different ways. Steering out of the system will get you out of it entirely because there's not multiple stages to full self-driving or anything. It's just either all the way on or all the way off. So if I want to disengage right now, I can tap the brake and I'm out of the system, and now I need to take over entirely for manual driving. The little icon's up there, so I can re-engage it by pressing the scroll wheel once. I can also disengage it by pressing the scroll wheel, just like that. Now I'm out and I'm having to accelerate. I'll take over for this turn right here. But actually, I'll go back into it and see how it handles getting onto the freeway here. I'm in chill. No, I'm in hurry mode. So it's getting me onto the freeway. I think overall it's doing a great job. But like I said, if I wanted to go a little quicker here, I can just tap that accelerator up a little bit. It just went a little bit faster. It's changing lanes, and probably I'm in hurry, so it's probably going to get me all the way to the carpool lane, since I also have HOV lanes as an option here, and it's checked on screen. But if I want to change lanes myself, I want it to do a lane change, I can just press the button here. So for the Model 3, I have to press left or right on these buttons, and in the Model Y, you'll do so with the blinker stock. But if I want to, maybe after we pass this truck, I just want to change lanes right, and it's not going to do it for me automatically, that's what I can do. So now I want to change lanes right, press the button, and it's going to do it for me. It did a great job with that lane change, and overall, those are basically the ways that you can intervene with this system if you want. It's going to be handling everything for the most part, but you can adjust how aggressive it's going to be between chill, standard, or hurry. And then you can initiate a lane change with the blinkers like this, but as you can see, it already got me back into the left lane after I did that. So it's always going to be making its own decisions. And then you can get out of it by tapping the brake, pressing the scroll wheel again once, or simply steering out of the system. Now this is the way I like to do it the least, but you'll find that if you're in the middle of a turn and you want to take over, that's the way you're going to end up doing it. Right now, it's just a little jagged to do it on the freeway, but I'm just going to steer out of it there. And there we go. Now I am fully manually controlling this car, and I can go back into it by pressing once. So that's the full self-driving system, and it's navigating me to this destination. It will get me entirely there, and then I'll probably have to take over at some point once I get to the parking lot or something like that. But let's say you don't really want to use this full self-driving system as a whole, or your car only included basic autopilot. Well, you'll be right here on auto steer, and there's one option that pops up immediately, and that is autopilot activation, single click or double click. Basically what this means is autopilot is the culmination of traffic aware cruise control and auto steer. So when I have single click activation selected, it's going to entirely bring me into auto steer. It's going to steer for me, and respond to what the cars are doing in front of me based on speed. It will brake and accelerate up to the speed that I have set as my maximum, which is clearly indicated right there. Then when I click to deactivate this, it entirely deactivates the system. If I press the brake to deactivate, it entirely deactivates the system. And the same is also true for steering out of it. Since I have single click selected, it's either all the way autopilot, which is steering for you, or all the way not. So I steer out of it, and we can see it's turned off all aspects. I'm in charge of steering, accelerating, braking, everything. But if I change this setting to double click, one click is going to bring me just into traffic aware cruise control, where it's going to go up to 70 miles per hour, slow down and speed up based on traffic, and then I'm steering. And then I click 2 times in a row to get into full autopilot. So the way that this changes the system then when deactivating it is that you press the brake, it entirely gets out of it. You've double clicked back into autopilot. You press it once on the scroll wheel, it entirely deactivates it. But then when you go to steer out of the system, it's only going to steer out of auto steer and remain in traffic aware cruise control. So we'll see that right here. I steer out of it, and this is still blue for the top speed. Scroll that up to 70, and that means it's still on traffic aware cruise control. So if I want to further get out of that, I can press the scroll wheel once, or I could tap the brake and then I'm entirely taking over. For this reason, I think it's just easiest to be all or nothing on this system. Have autopilot entirely working for you, or have full self-driving automatically working entirely for you, or simply just select traffic aware cruise control from these options. Now that I only have traffic aware cruise control selected in this menu, it's only going to be doing that, and I'm in charge of steering from here on out. Now it's worth noting, if you're playing around with these systems and experimenting like I'm doing right here for this demo, you can't go up to the more involved systems until you're in park again, and that's because you have to agree to some terms and conditions. You can see right here, even this option for traffic light and stop sign control, car must be in park to enable. Now the Tesla app is definitely the best companion app you can have for a vehicle, but there are a lot of great hidden features you may not know about. First off, it should be pretty obvious at this point, but you can live stream your Sentry mode cameras. Then you can also view recent clips from your Dashcam. It will be streamed to your phone, and this is a really great way to have these clips organized if something were to have happened to your car in any of these events. Of course, you can control climate, and with the new Model 3 and Y, you can go in here and choose between cooled or heated seats. But then you can pull this up for many more options, including cabin overheat protection, what temperature that turns on for, camp mode, dog mode, vent your windows, which rolls down all the windows about an inch, and then of course just turn it on or off if you wish. Under location, it of course shows you where you are, but when you click into that, you can see recent things you have navigated to in the car, as well as charging nearby. Now this shows you all of your nearby superchargers, and of course you can see details about them by clicking in. It will show you the rates, but now if you scroll up, it will also show you some photos and other things about it, and you can navigate to it. This will then send it to your vehicle. This will set up this whole dialog that shows you the route, and then you can click Send to Car, but you can also click Edit Trip here and add stops. So if you want, you can do your entire trip planning, all navigation, all supercharger stops from your phone in advance, and then send it to the vehicle. Now Summon, of course, is a cool feature people know about that is included with full self-driving, where it can come to you in a parking lot, but a lot of people don't know you can just simply have it go forward or backwards. This can be especially helpful in tight parking spots. Under Security and Drivers is where you can turn on valet mode and set up a pin for that, and you can also set up pin to drive, which is a feature a lot of people like, because no matter what, if someone somehow manages to get your key and they get into the car and try to go into drive, they will need this pin. This is also where you can add another driver to have access to the car. You create an invitation and send it to them. Another cool thing about the Tesla app is that these icons are entirely customizable. You just tap and hold, and then this option to change them comes up. You can click and drag anything to any spot that you want there, and then you can add a 5th item, as you see that I've done here. The default is typically 4, so I've just customized it to now be 4. And to get that 5th one in there sometimes is a little difficult, but I'll show you how it works. Oh, right there. Drop it in, 5. Not only does this customize this part of the app, but if you have the widget as well, it customizes the buttons that are there. Another cool thing is that no matter what Maps application you may be using on your phone, you choose your destination and click Share. And then you scroll over to the Tesla app, tap that, It will say shared with Phoenix, and now that destination pops up on screen and is ready to go. In the controls menu, you of course have the controls many people are used to, but in this top right corner, you can click PSI and see the PSI of your tires and when it was last updated. When it comes to Smart Summon, I can actually choose a target here. So I'm just gonna choose across here, click go to target. And again, I have to press and hold this whole time, but the car is gonna attempt to go to this target. And overall, I mean, it's doing a pretty good job. It's gonna round this corner. It's basically just using the full self-driving system at this point, and then it's gonna end up at the target that I set. As we can see, it says summon complete, and then I'm gonna bring it back to me. So I'm gonna set the target as my current location. Click go to target, and car's figuring out its route, and then gonna come back to me. Summon complete. Now, one thing that's still fairly new is the Tesla Apple Watch app. This Apple Watch app is actually fairly functional, definitely not as much as the app itself on the phone, but you do have options, and this can be utilized as your phone key. Scrolling up gets you to all of these options, including, I guess, what is a fifth option for opening the trunk right here. Options are fairly simple, like opening the front trunk right there. You can change between percentage and mileage prediction, and then you can start your climate, which is the basic preconditioning option, or unlock and lock the car. So those are the latest tips and tricks for Tesla's latest software versions in their latest cars. And a lot of these tips will actually apply to older cars as well, since they have that updated software. If there's something helpful that I left off, leave a comment below to let me and others know. And in the meantime, I hope this video was helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.